during the reign of Emperor Jiaqing in the Qing dynasty. A family surnamed Liu lived in Liujia village, Fengyang Prefecture, Anhui Province. The Liu family had been farmers for generations, but by this generation, only a widow named Liu and her 7-year-old daughter, Chunyi, remained. Liu's husband had died of illness 3 years prior, leaving her and her daughter to depend on each other. Liu was hardworking and kind. Although life was difficult, she worked tirelessly from dawn till dusk, washing clothes and doing needlework to make ends meet. It was the dead of winter, the 12th lunar month, with a howling north wind and heavy snow. Liu was mending clothes in her dilapidated thatched hut when she suddenly heard the courtyard gate being violently kicked open. Looking up, her heart skipped a beat. It was her husband's mother, her mother-in-law, Zhao. This old woman was known for her meanness and greed since her son's death. She had never visited them. Her sudden arrival today was surely not a good sign. Zhao entered the house without even brushing off the snow, and sat down on the edge of the Kang-a heated brick bed, with a cold face, her eyes scanning the room. Looking at the empty house, she sneered, "Oh, life's pretty tough, huh?" Liu quickly put down her needlework, poured a bowl of hot water, and handed it to her mother. "It's freezing cold, why have you come? Have some hot water to warm yourself." Zhao took the bowl but didn't drink, instead staring intently at Liu. "I've come today because I have something important to tell you." Liu's heart tightened, and she cautiously asked, "Mother, what important thing?" Zhao slammed the bowl on the table and went straight to the point. "You're a widow with a child. Can't you make ends meet? I found you a good place." Liu was stunned. "What place?" Zhao's eyes gleamed with calculation. 30 miles north of the city, at Black Dragon Ridge. There's a hunter named Xiong Dashan, over 40 years old and still unmarried. He's taken a liking to you and is willing to pay 50 taels of silver to marry you and your daughter together." Liu's face turned deathly pale, her voice trembling. "Mother, I've heard of Black Dragon Ridge. It's a desolate, wild place, and Xiong Dashan is notoriously fierce. Everyone in the village says he has a violent temper and has killed several wolves. You're pushing us, mother and daughter, into a fire pit." Zhao waved her hand dismissively. "What fire pit? He's a man, at least he can support you. Besides, I've already accepted the 50 taels of silver. It's settled. Xiong Dashan will come to pick you up tomorrow morning." Liu knelt on the ground with a thud, tears instantly welling up. "Mother, please, we won't go. I'd rather beg than go to a place like that. Please give the silver back." Zhao was determined, her face cold. "The silver is already spent, what's there to return? If you don't go, I'll report you to the authorities for infidelity. You'll lose your reputation." With that, she stood up, brushed the snow off her clothes, and left without looking back. Liu collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down her face. Seeing her mother's grief, Xiao Chunyi cried too, "Mother, I don't want to go. I'm scared." Liu hugged her daughter, her heart aching. She knew her mother-in-law meant what she said. If they didn't go, they would be taken authorities, and they would lose their lives. But if they went to Black Dragon Ridge, how would that vicious Xiong Dashan treat them? The more she thought about it, the more desperate she became, and she didn't sleep a wink all night. The next day, just as dawn broke, there was a knock at the courtyard gate. Liu opened the door trembling, and saw a tall, burly man standing outside. This man was easily 8 feet tall, broad-shouldered and thick-waisted, with a long scar on his face, looking fierce and menacing. He was Xiong Dashan. Xiong Dashan glanced at Liu and said in a hoarse voice, "Pack your things and come with me." Liu bit her lip, tears welling in her eyes, but dared not disobey. She hastily packed a few worn-out clothes, took Chunyi's little hand, and followed Xiong Dashan on the road. Along the way, Liu was filled with unease. She secretly observed Xiong Dashan. He was taciturn, yet walked with a powerful stride. The further they went into the mountains, the more difficult the path became, flanked by dense forests, with the occasional howl of wild animals echoing through the air, frightening Chunny, who clung tightly to her mother's hand. After walking for 3 full hours, they finally reached Black Dragon Ridge. Xiongdashan's lodging was a simple wooden hut. Though rudimentary, it was relatively clean. Outside, hunting tools were piled up, along with several animal hides drying in the sun. Xiongdashan led them inside, pointing to a bed in the corner, saying, "You'll sleep there." Then he turned and left. Liu looked around, her heart pounding. She didn't know what would happen next and could only silently pray that this man wouldn't be too cruel. That evening, Xiongdashan returned from hunting, carrying a wild deer on his back. He skillfully skinned and deboned the venison, cutting a large piece and handing it to Liusha. "Cook it, we'll eat it tonight." Liusha took the meat, her hands trembling. She started a fire and cooked, but her mind was preoccupied with thoughts of escape. After the meal was ready, Xiongdashan sat at the table, eating heartily. Liusha and Chunny sat beside him, having no appetite whatsoever. After finishing his meal, Xiongdashan wiped his mouth and suddenly said, "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you." Liusha was stunned, looking up at him. Xiongdashan continued, "I know you were forced to come, but since you're here, try to make the best of it. Life in the mountains is tough, but as long as you work, you won't starve." With that, he stood up, walked to the cupboard, took out a thick cotton-padded coat and handed it to Chunny. "It's cold, wear this so you don't get cold." Liusha looked at the rough but clean cotton-padded coat, and tears streamed down her face again. She hadn't expected this seemingly fierce man to have such a side. From that day on, Liu and Chunny settled in Heilongling. Xiongdashan would go hunting in the mountains before dawn every day, sometimes staying out all day. Liu stayed home, cooking, washing clothes, and cleaning. Although life was hard, Xiongdashan never mistreated them. When he hunted, he always gave the best parts to Chunny first. When it got cold, he would go to town to buy cotton cloth for Liu to make winter clothes. When Liu was sick, he would carry her over the mountains to find a doctor. The following spring arrived in the blink of an eye. The snow on the mountain melted, and wildflowers bloomed all over the mountains. One day, Xiongdashan returned from hunting, looking somewhat grave. Seeing this, Liu cautiously asked, "What's wrong?" Xiongdashan was silent for a moment before speaking. "News came from down the mountain that the government is arresting fugitives and might search mountain." Liu's heart tightened. "Then what about us?" Xiongdashan waved his hand. "It's all right, I will protect you." Sure enough, a few days later, a troop of soldiers came up the mountain. Leading the group was a fierce-looking captain who, with a dozen or so soldiers, stormed into Xiongdashan's house. The captain sneered, "Xiongdashan, I heard you're hiding a fugitive. Hand him over." Xiongdashan stood at the door, blocking their way. "Sir, there are only a few of us in the mountains. What fugitive could there be?" The captain snorted, "Search." Several soldiers were about to rush into the house. Suddenly, Xiongdashan reached out, grabbed the captain by the collar, lifted him up like a chicken, and threw him aside. The other soldiers drew their swords. The captain's face changed, and he shouted, "You dare resist the authorities?" Xiongdashan's expression was grim. "There are women and children in my house. You can search, but you must let them out first." He then turned to Liu and said, "Take Chunny to the back of the mountain. Don't come back until I tell you." Liu, holding Chunny, walked out tremblingly. Just then, a soldier suddenly rushed forward, trying to grab Chunny. Xiongdashan reacted swiftly, kicking the soldier in the leg. The man screamed and fell to his knees. The captain, seeing this, was furious. "Insolence! Seize him!" A dozen soldiers swarmed forward. Although Xiongdashan was skilled, he was no match for so many and was quickly subdued. The captain sneered, "Dare to attack government troops? You're dead." As we dive into this surprising folk tale, I want to pause and thank you for coming along on this legendary journey with me. Your thoughts and perspectives really make this storytelling experience something special. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to my channel for more Chinese folk tales, ancient mysteries, and mythical legends. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters and helps make our community what it is. Just then, a deafening roar came from outside, shaking the entire forest. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw a huge tiger leap out of the forest, easily 3 meters long, with golden fur and a king character on its forehead. The tiger opened its blood-red maw, revealing gleaming white teeth, its eyes flashing with ferocity. The soldiers were terrified and retreated hastily. The captain, his face pale, trembled as he said, "Quick, quick, fire the arrows." Several soldiers cautiously drew their bows, but before they could release the arrows, the tiger leaped and pounced in front of them. Strangely, the tiger didn't attack them. Instead, it stood before Xiong Dashan and growled at the soldiers. Seeing this, the captain was so frightened that he fell to the ground, exclaiming, This is the mountain god's mount. Let's go." He then scrambled down the mountain with his soldiers. Once the soldiers were far away, the tiger turned around and nuzzled Xiong Dashan with its massive head. Xiong Dashan reached out and stroked its head, softly saying, "Old friend, thank you." It turned out that Xiong Dashan had rescued this tiger 10 years ago. At that time, the tiger was still a cub, its leg injured in a hunter's trap. Xiong Dashan took pity on it and took it home to nurse it back to health. After it recovered, the tiger didn't leave but remained in the forest, secretly protecting Xiong Dashan. When Liu and Chunny returned from the back mountain and saw this scene, they were speechless with shock. Xiong Dashan smiled and said, "Don't be afraid, it won't hurt anyone." Chunny, being brave, stepped forward and touched the tiger's fur. The tiger obediently lay down, letting her pet it. From then on, the tiger became their family's guardian spirit, often bringing prey to their doorstep. As the days passed, Liu's attitude towards Xiong Dashan gradually changed. She discovered that although this man appeared rugged, he was extremely kind at heart. He never raised his voice to her or Chunny, always doing things quietly. Once, Liu accidentally injured her foot, and Xiong Dashan, without a word, carried her to find doctor, walking 30 miles round trip through the mountains, sweating profusely but never complaining. A year later, Chunny was 9 years old, growing increasingly beautiful. Xiong Dashan doted on her, treating her like his own daughter. He asked someone to buy paper and pens from town so that Liu could teach Chunny to read. Although Liu wasn't highly educated, she could recognize some characters and taught Chunny every night by oil lamp. Xiong Dashan sat beside her, watching the mother and daughter with tender eyes. One day, Xiong Dashan went hunting in the mountains and unexpectedly discovered a cave. The cave was filled with gold and silver jewelry, as well as many antique paintings and calligraphy. Xiong Dashan was astonished. Upon closer inspection, he realized that these were all things that bandits had stolen and hidden here years ago. The bandits had long since disappeared, and these treasures had been left to languish. Xiong Dashan thought for a moment and decided to take everything home. That evening, Xiong Dashan called Liu to his side and recounted the events of the day. Upon hearing this, Liu was stunned. So much gold and silver, what should we do?" Xiong Dashan pondered for a moment and said, "These things are ill-gotten. We can't keep them all for ourselves. How about this, some will be kept for Chunny's dowry, and the rest will be donated to the town to repair bridges and pave roads, helping the poor." Liu's eyes welled up with tears. "You are truly a good person." The next day, Xiong Dashan took the gold and silver down the mountain and found the local gentry, explaining the situation. The gentry were greatly impressed and immediately convened a meeting to discuss the matter. Soon, the town repaired bridges, paved roads, and opened soup kitchens to relieve the poor. Xiong Dashan's good deeds spread throughout the surrounding villages, and people praised him as a righteous man. But just then, Zhao heard about this and immediately came to his door. Upon seeing Liu, she immediately launched into a tirade, "You shameless woman. You have money but don't even know how to be filial to your mother-in-law. All that gold and silver should be mine." Liu calmly replied, "Mother, we've already donated that money." Hearing this, Zhao stamped her feet in anger. "What? Are you all crazy? So much money?" Xiong Dashan coldly said, "Old lady, you sold them to me for 50 taels of silver. We haven't settled that score with you, so don't bother us anymore." Seeing Xiong Dashan's anger, Zhao was too frightened to say anything more and slunk away. But she was resentful. Back home, she went to the matchmaker who had helped her collect the money and discussed suing Xiong Dashan. The matchmaker, a greedy and unscrupulous woman, agreed as soon as she heard there was profit to be made. They conspired with several local ruffians to fabricate a lie, saying that Xiong Dashan had stolen the government's reward money. Upon hearing this, the government immediately sent men to arrest Xiong Dashan. When the officials arrived at Black Dragon Ridge, they saw the giant tiger guarding the entrance and none dared approach. They had no choice but to return and report. The magistrate, after hearing the report, personally led a team up the mountain to investigate. Upon arriving at Xiong Dashan's house, the magistrate inquired in detail about the events and inspected the cave. When he saw the evidence of Xiong Dashan's donations to build bridges and roads, he was filled with awe. The magistrate immediately ordered the arrest of Zhao and the matchmaker, sentencing them for false accusation. From then on, Liu and Chunyi lived a peaceful life in Black Dragon Ridge. Xiong Dashan used the money he left behind to build a new house and bought several acres of land. The foot of the mountain, Chunyi grew up and married a scholar in town, living a happy life. Xiong Dashan and Liu remained together until old age. The villagers said this was a case of good deeds being rewarded and evil deeds being punished. The tiger continued to protect them until Xiong Dashan's death, when it disappeared into the depths of the forest and was never seen again. This story quickly spread throughout Fengyang Prefecture, and people said that sincerity will surely be rewarded. The heartless mother-in-law wanted to sell the orphan and widow to the deep mountains. Unexpectedly, it led to a beautiful story, and the seemingly fierce hunter, with his lifelong sincerity, protected the mother and daughter, leading them from despair to happiness.